of Masters 2019 with RCT.
I'm dreaming of. If you need me, you know where I'll be.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for our final talk before we head to the closing ceremony of our first ever Master Summit 2020. And remember, in order to have a smooth interaction, please know we will give you 15 minutes once this speech is over to have a Q&A session. Also, if you have any comments or questions throughout the whole presentation, please feel free to share them on the Zoom chat. And before we start, my name is Valeria Aranda. I'm a BEO sales representative who will be hosting this session today. And I have the biggest pleasure to introduce you to our wonderful speaker who we deeply admire. She is Cecilia Arechederra, I'm sorry. Ceci has previously participated in both BEO and Masters, her team winning the Masters 2015. She is currently studying to be an engineer in sustainable development, and she's one of our best BEO World Ambassadors. And well, we couldn't pick a better person to wrap up the conferences from today. So now let's give it up for Ceci and her power of knowing how to sell.
Hello, everyone. I am so thrilled to be here today. I'm not gonna lie, I'm also a little bit nervous, but I am very, very excited. So let's start. So before we begin, I know some people are still trying to connect, so we're just gonna give them a few minutes. But I want to ask you some questions, and I would greatly appreciate if you could put them up in the chat so we can all get to know each other. I just want to know very simple things like, where are you guys from? I'll go first. I am from Mexico City. And yeah, I just want to know, where are you guys from? Where are you visiting us from today? Nice, Honduras. Hello. I had the great pleasure of working with a school from Honduras when I went to BEO as staff. You guys are all amazing. Mexico. Nice to meet my fellow Mexicans. Honduras. There's a lot of people from Honduras. Awesome. Also, I want to know, are you guys students or teachers? I mean, it's quite obvious, but I'm a student, but I don't know about you. Teacher, student. Nice. And just before we begin, I would love if you could tell me, who's your favorite speaker of all time? There's no right or wrong. It could be dead, alive, anything. Who's your favorite speaker of all time? Nice. Rob Dial, I don't know him, but I will definitely check him out afterwards. My favorite speaker of all time, I think, is probably President Barack Obama. He just has, I don't know, I love him. Martin Luther King, nice. He's also very powerful. So I think that's it. Thank you for participating. It's so much easier for me knowing who you guys are even a little bit. So now we can get started. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for taking the time to connect. I know you must all be very, very tired because it has been a long day, a really long conference day. So without any further ado, I hope you and guys enjoy this conference. And if you have any questions whatsoever, please put them up in the chat so we can read them afterwards. So let's start with the power of knowing how to sell. First off, I would like to begin with a little story. On February 14th, 1990, Special Probe Voyager 1 shut down its cameras for the very last time. But something magical happened before it shut down its cameras. It took one final picture, and it's the picture you're looking at right now. In the vastness of space and in the darkness of space, there's a pale blue dot. Yeah, as the great Carl Sagan would put it, a pale blue dot. That pale blue dot may be simple, suspended on a faint light beam, but it's home. And also, as the great Carl Sagan would put it, every single person you've ever known, every rock star, every celebrity, every war hero, every great public orator, everyone who has ever lived out their lives have lived here, planet Earth. Our planet is the only known planet, of course, in the universe known to harbor life, and our planet is beaming with life. There are approximately 8.7 million species, out of which only 20% have been discovered. That means that 80% are still undiscovered species. And yeah, out of those 8.7 million species, only one has managed to get to the moon. Only one has managed to leave the Earth. Only one has managed to fly without having biological wings. And only one has managed to build the necessary technology, not only to build skyscrapers, but entire cities. And yeah, obvious, of course, but that's us, humans. And what really sets us apart? What makes us human beings? And well, the answer is very simple. It's just one word. And that word is communication. What makes us different and what separates us from the rest 8.7 million species is the ability and the desire we have to communicate. This one trait separates us from the rest and defines us as humans. We strengthen ourselves as species. We are able to transmit knowledge. We are able to learn from one another. And these two last things I just told you have been key in the evolution of humankind. Even though we have this amazing ability to communicate, we are always craving for more. We crave for human interaction. We crave for social interaction. Did you know that the average person speaks around 5,000 and 7,000 words per day? That makes us social creatures by definition. Still, even though we have this amazing ability that separates us from the other 8.7 million species, 75% of people are scared, not only scared, they are terrified of public speaking. There is a very famous study that was conducted where people were asked to name their biggest fear. They could name, I don't know, being murdered. They could name something bad happening to them or their families. They could name being drowned. They could even name the apocalypse, but no, people still chose public speaking as their number one fear. But why are we so terrified of public speaking? Why are we so terrified? And Jerry Seinfeld, who's a very funny comedian, very funny stand-up comedian, and a very famous one, who created the show Seinfeld, for those of you who don't know, who's a predecessor of Friends, he said this, and it's a very funny way to sum what I just set up. He says that according to most studies, people's number one fear is public speaking. Number two is death. Death is number two. Does that sound right? This means that to the average person, if you go to a funeral, you're better off in the casket than doing the eulogy. But again, why are we so scared of speaking in public? It's something that separates us from the other species, which is something that, makes us who we are, makes us human beings. And mainly it's because we think we can't do it. It's because we think we don't have what it takes. It's because we don't think we have the necessary skills, because we are scared of being judged, because we are constantly comparing ourselves to other people. May it be your neighbor, may it be your dad, may it be your friend. We are also comparing ourselves to the greatest speakers of all time. Take Margaret Thatcher, Winston Churchill, Martin Luther King, Michelle Obama. These are just a few of an endless list, but we are always comparing ourselves to them. But let me tell you something. I'm not saying they're not naturally gifted, because they are. They're incredibly gifted. They have a gift, there's no denying that. But also, public speaking was part of their job, was part of what they did and still do, some of them. So of course they're good, because that's what they do for a living. And of course they are talented, they were born with a natural gift, but believe me, they had to start somewhere. So what I want to transmit with you today is something very, very simple. What I want you to take from this conference, and what I want to summarize, this is a core idea of everything I'm about to tell you today, is that anyone who has an idea worth sharing is capable of giving a powerful talk. This I got from a book, from a very amazing book, which I'll tell you a little bit more about later on. But it was written by Chris Anderson. And Chris Anderson is the head of TED Talks. So he knows a thing or two about public speaking. We think that people who give great talks are Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, they are astronauts, they are scientists, they are rocket science engineers, but no. Take me, for example. I'm just a regular 19-year-old. I'm no rocket science engineer. even though I'm studying to become one someday, a sustainable development engineer. But I'm just a regular 19-year-old girl. I've always been a very curious student. I've always been someone who enjoys trying different things. And that has led me to some of the most amazing opportunities of my life. When I had the opportunity to travel to BEO in 2015, that was an offer I couldn't refuse. And thank God I didn't refuse that, because I went there, so many doors open. For example, going to Masters in 2018, where me and my team were in first place. And also, I have been an ambassador for the BEO World family since 2018. And I had the opportunity to travel as staff to BEO 2018. So now that you've gotten to know me a little bit, I want to get to know you a little bit more with just one simple question. What's the one element all powerful talks have? So if you're very kind, please scan this code. It's very simple. If you're on your laptop, you can just use your cell phone, scan it, and it will take you to a webpage where you will be asked to answer this question. There's no right or wrong. Please feel free to write whatever you want, and we'll see your questions in live. So just give me a second. Okay, so passion, perfect. Experience, empathy, yeah, those are great. Pasión, yeah, I agree with that. There's no great talk without passion. Confidence, empathy, that's a really great one. Body language, persuasion, yeah, of course, these are all great things. And you know, everyone thinks there's a special ingredient, there's a special recipe for powerful talks, but not at all. Everyone is different. Everyone can impact lives in their own different way. So security, yeah. Transmit feelings, of course. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for participating. It makes me feel a lot better when you're in here with me, not just by myself. It makes me feel like I'm not alone. Message, sure. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing. Let's So, like I said, everyone thinks that there's a special recipe, you know, for public speaking. Add this, add that, do this, do that, and bam, you have a powerful talk that you're going to impact millions of people. But that's not true. Like I said, everyone is different in their own way. Everyone can transmit feeling, everyone can transmit passion, everyone has their own body language. But even though there's no specific recipe you guys should follow, there are specific key ingredients that I have learned by experiences, but also by educating myself, that have helped me become someone who likes and who enjoys public speaking. And that's what I want to transmit with you guys today. So, first of all, you need to start with the idea. And I'm someone who likes structure. I'm someone who's very structured. So you'll see that I divide everything into categories. So bear with me. So first, when you start with the idea, I divide it into 3 steps: evaluation, is it worth it, and a plan of action. So evaluation. The only thing that truly matters when speaking in public is not having amazing visuals or having a really great stage presence. Even though these are key points that we're going to discuss later on, the only thing that truly matters when we're giving a public talk, when we're having a conference, is having something worth saying, something worth sharing. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a scientific breakthrough, a genius mathematical theory, or even a truly inspiring story. It can be something really, really simple. It can be something that happened to you, that you learned something from, that made you who you are today. An idea is anything that can make people learn, grow, and change the way they see the world. So now that you've thought about your idea, now that you have some ideas in mind for your next talk, for your next conference, or whatever, you need to evaluate, is it worth it? Like I said, it doesn't have to be about the next iPhone or iPad. It can be something really simple. Many of the best talks out there simply began based on personal experiences people went through and that made them who they are today, something that you learned from something personal. And believe me, we all have ideas that are worth sharing. You are unique. No one else in the world is perceiving life the way that you do. No one else is living life the way that you do. So now that you've thought about idea, is it really worth it? And a simple trick is assessing it with the concept of an idea I just gave you a few seconds ago. So, is it something that will help someone grow? Is it something that will help someone learn anything new? Or is it something that will help someone change the way or perceive the way they see the world? You know, you can be a rock star at public speaking. You can be the best public speaker our generation has seen. But all of that style will take you and your audience nowhere if there's no substance to your talk. So now that you have your idea, now that you've thought and realized that, yeah, it is indeed worth it, you need to start with a plan of action. And this is where the fun begins. So the first thing I would like to tell you today is stop procrastinating. That's the #1 mistake we all make. And believe me, I am a master procrastinator myself. That's something I'm trying to get better at, something that I'm quite sure I'm getting better at. I'm still learning, but yeah, I'm a master procrastinator. So stop procrastinating, because believe me when I tell you, I've lived through it. Procrastinating will take you nowhere. Leaving things at the last minute will take you nowhere. The only thing you will gain from procrastination is a ton of stress. And that's not good for your health, for your physical health, or your mental health. So stop procrastinating. And also get to work. Start researching. All great talks start with researching. And no, that doesn't mean you have to go to a library to investigate. If you're going to talk about something personal, start doing some internal research. You know, what do you want to talk about? What's the main idea you want to give? That's the kind of research I'm thinking about. Also, research academically, because there's no great talks without having facts to be based on. So the second part, of course, is preparation. So this is a simple structure of what a public speaking should be like. Of course, you can take it with a grain of salt. I'm not saying you should do it this way. This is just something that I've done that has truly worked for me. And also from the TED book I told you about, Sir Ken Robinson, who's a professional writer, a professional British writer and professional lecturer, said he follows this very simple structure. And I know you guys have read it, because I know if I was in the audience, I would have done that. So I know you're not waiting for me to tell you. So I know you've read it by now, and I know you're thinking, okay, I've seen this before. And yeah, of course you have. This is something very simple. This is something very, this is basic. And also, this is kind of the same structure we use to write essays. So of course, all of the students here, you guys have seen it, you guys have used it, nothing new about that. But first, you need an opening. You need an introduction. What will you talk about? It has been proven that people pay the most attention during the opening and during the closing of your public talk. So you need a strong opening. You need something that will hook the audience. Introduction, what will you talk about? Add some context. Why is the issue you're talking about relevant? Why are you there today? What entitles you to give this talk? What inspired you to give this talk? A core. And this is honestly, I think, the best part, because this is where you let your imagination fly. This is where you let yourself go. This is where you talk about everything that's important about the talk. This is where you talk about the main concepts. This is where you talk about the main ideas. This is honestly one of the most important parts of the talk, because this is where you talk about everything. Practical implications. Don't be afraid to get personal. We, like I said, we are social creatures. We are always looking for human connection. So tell a story or two, maybe add some joke about yourself. Don't be afraid to get personal. And also the ending, a conclusion. You need a powerful ending. What will the audience remember from your talk? You need to leave them hooked, even though when you leave the room, you need to leave them thinking about what you just said. Don't just finish and be like, okay, that's it, I'm gone. Everyone has their own lives. No, you need to leave them hooked. So also, there are some things that you can do prior to your talk there are certain steps that you can do prior to your talk that will help you ensure that your talk is truly powerful. So these are things that I do that have really helped me with when I do a public speaking or when I prepare for anything. So first you need to start with the skeleton. Think about the human skeleton. It's the basis of our whole body. So start with the skeleton of your talk. You know, what will you open with? What will you close with? Can you add a personal story? What are the main concepts you want to talk about? So literally sit down and start writing a skeleton to your talk. These are some things very simple that will help as a guide for when you are doing the visuals, when you're doing the script. This is something that is very important. This is what I start all of my talks with. Write down everything that comes to mind. Start adding some muscle to your skeleton. You know, what ideas, write ideas. You can know it could be paragraphs, it could be quotes, it could be main ideas, it could be bullet points. You know, just write down everything that comes to mind. Start adding some substance to what you've already got. Talk to yourself. And I know this may sound funny, but go to your room, lock yourself up. Maybe you can record yourself. That way you can listen to what you're saying. That way, when you hear yourself talk, you can get some new ideas for your skeleton. You can get some new ideas for your talk. So talk to yourself, listen to yourself, talk in front of a mirror. That way you can see yourself the way you look on a stage. That way you can see your body language. That way you can see the way that you articulate. That way you can see everything. So don't be afraid to talk to yourself. Also, writing a script. And this is very important. Writing a script doesn't mean that you'll say word by word. It could be a draft, but this will help you add more substance to what you've already got. You know, this will help you write down the specific ideas you want to talk about. For example, I wrote a script for today. It's right here. And even though I'm not reading it because I basically know it by heart because I've practiced it so much, it gives me so much confidence to know that if anything goes wrong, that if I forget something, because I'm human, if I get nervous, I have this backup plan with me. So write a script, it will give you so much confidence. And the KISS technique. And no, this is not what you think. This whole talk is PG-13, don't worry. But it's the keep it simple, stupid. You'll come to learn in life that less is always more. So keep it simple. I know, for example, if you're giving a 5 or 10 minute or even an hour talk, don't try to cram everything up. Don't try to squeeze everything into a 5-minute talk. Choose wisely what you want to talk about. Keep it simple and learn how to maximize the time you're on stage. Learn how to maximize your time so you can really get through the topics you want to talk about. And this is the most fun because this is when this is when you're on stage. So I like to divide it into two. First, technicalities, and then all of the personal aspect. So technicalities, I divide it into 4, which is very simple and very obvious. Audience, visuals, actually being on stage, and testing. So know your audience. This is key to any talk. Know their age group, know what they like to hear. This way you can figure out what content and what messages your audience really and truly cares about. Put yourself in their shoes. That way you can really think about what the audience wants to hear and you will be able to cater the message specifically to them. For example, I am a BEO World Ambassador and I am required to attend school meetings. It can be with teachers, it can be with parents, it can be with students. But when I am there, I am required to talk about my personal experiences in these programs. And like I said, of course, I do everything I told you about. I have my skeleton, I've written everything down. I have the structure I want to follow. I've practiced it, but no 2 talks I ever give, and you can ask this to practically every person at BEO World, no 2 talks are ever the same because no 2 audiences will ever be the same. So, for example, it's not the same when I give a talk to an all-girls school that when I go to a boy and girl school. It's not the same when you talk to parents that when you talk to teachers. And also, it's not the same talking to one set of parents that to another set of parents. They're both completely different. So you need to know their interests. You need to know your audience so you can truly cater the talk specifically for them. And also, a thing I do is when I go to meetings, like I said, I know my audience beforehand, but I don't think you can know your audience until you're in front of them. That way, for example, when my coworker or when my BEO World Ambassador person who's with me is giving the talk, I can analyze, the way the public is reacting. I can analyze their expressions. That way, I can add in certain, impromptu jokes. I can add impromptu things, or I can even take out and scratch some things that might not work for that specific audience. So knowing your audience is key. Now, being on stage. We all know that humans judge each other, sometimes voluntarily and sometimes not. While someone is on stage or while someone is speaking to you in front of you, we analyze every single aspect of them. We analyze their hair, we analyze the way they dress, we analyze the way they talk, the way they communicate, we analyze their body gestures, the way they stand, we analyze everything. And of course, this can be voluntary or even involuntary, but we all know that humans judge. Great speakers always find a way to create an early contact, an early connection with the audience. And the best way of doing this is keeping eye contact at all times. And I know you may be thinking, having eye contact and keeping eye contact throughout the whole presentation, and you may be in front of 20 people, but it's impossible to keep eye contact with 20 people. And yeah, you are right, it is impossible. But what I've learned is that there are always a few friendly faces in the public, in the audience. Try to find them. And no, by friendly, I don't mean people you know beforehand. You just be people that look friendly. So try to find those people. Try to find one or two people and look them in the eye. My tip personally is you go on stage, you walk confidently, you stand confidently, you try to find your friendly faces, look them in the eye, and give them a gentle smile. That way you're good to go throughout the presentation because you've established an early human connection. Now, people always look for trust. Like I've said countless times, we are social creatures by definition. So the best way to establish a human connection is smiling. This has a lot to do with body language and gestures. Be natural. If you move too much, then you might distract. But if you also stand still like a robot, then you may bore them and even freak them out a little bit. So smile, again, move naturally. Everything you do, do it natural. Enjoy being up there. I know this must be the hardest part because it's something that I struggle with. I've always been a very nervous person. So I struggle with nerves a lot. So I know what it feels like. And I know it's not easy to enjoy when you're in front of a stage, in front of an audience, being on stage, but it's something that you can definitely learn to enjoy. For example, I was very nervous beforehand, before this presentation. But right now I can tell you with all honesty that I am enjoying every single moment. Now, eye contact backed up by a warm smile can disarm any single audience and transform the way your talk is received and perceived. Be real, be you. Voice tone, adapted to the audience, adapted to the subject you're talking about. Be enthusiastic, share your passion. If you're up there, if you're on stage, you're talking about something that you're passionate about, transmit your passion. And also, I know sometimes we are required to talk about things that we may not be passionate about. But if you're up there, you've done your research, you know what you're talking about. So transmit your knowledge. And last but not least, confidence. Confidence is key. Believe in you, believe in your skills, believe that you are prepared, believe that you have what it takes in order to impact people. Confidence sells. Remember I told you that having a lot of style with no substance will take you or your audience nowhere? It also goes the other way around. Having an amazing topic to talk about, having the greatest substance of all time for a public appearance will honestly leave nothing to your audience if you don't have some sort of style to transmit it. It won't be memorable. So style also is key. Visuals. And this is a pro tip that I have learned, and it's something that I'm sure will help you in your next public talks. Always stand to the left of your presentation. Think about the way our eyes move. Think about the way we read. We always read from left to right. That's the natural way our eyes move. That's the natural way our eyes are trained to move. So always remember that visuals should be backup. They should not be the main source of information. The main source of information should be you. Visuals are always a backup. So that way, when the people, if you're standing to the left of the presentation, that way people will see you first and then the presentation behind you. So always make sure to stand to the left. You need to have some sort of aesthetic appeal. Your visuals need to have some sort of aesthetic appeal. And I know, put some effort, make them pretty. A lot of people are visual learners, so they will learn a lot from your visuals, and also they will remember your visuals. So make them aesthetically appealing. Limit each slide to one core idea. Don't try to cram up everything in one single slide because 1, people won't read it, 2, people will get bored, and 3, you will lose their attention. So limit each slide to only one main idea. You need good photo resolution. This is key in looking professional. I mean, we live in the 21st century. If you go to Google, I'm sure you'll find countless of good photo resolution for whatever you're looking for. Use easy to read fonts. Use something that's easy to read. I know you may want to use something that looks very cool and something that looks amazing and something that will, impact. But no, I mean, keep it simple, use easy to read fonts. The size of the text is also very, very important because that will capture the attention of public. Try to use 24 points or above. At most, use 3 sizes per slide. That way it'll always look aesthetically appealing and also people won't get distracted. And I know this may be a bummer, but avoid transitions. Transitions, although it may help your presentation look more beautiful, look more appealing, but transitions can also slow down your presentation. It can maybe stop working and you may get nervous, you may get anxious. So if you can, avoid them. Let the good pictures talk, let the text talk, let yourself transmit the message. Testing, and this is something, of course, that you need to do prior to your presentation, but it is of utmost importance for when you're doing the presentation. So testing, and I like dividing into 2 main aspects. First, human testing, and then technical testing. Practice your presentation over and over and over and over. It is said that presentations should be practiced at least 3 times out loud. That way you will remember what you have to say. That way you will hear yourself talk and correct whatever you've made wrong. So practice, practice, practice. And let me tell you a little quick story from when I was at the Masters. When we're at the Masters, there are 3 stages of competitions: quarterfinals, semifinals, and of course, the finals. My team and I, we practiced our presentation so much that we basically knew what the other had to say by heart. I not only knew my speech, but I knew the speech of the person who came right after me and who came before me. And not because not because we wanted to, but sometimes involuntary, because we have practiced so much that we have learned it by heart. And that was so important because, like I said, we are all humans. We can all mess up. Because during quarterfinals, I was so scared and I was so nervous that I completely froze. I went blank and I couldn't remember the last 15 seconds, even though I tried so hard. Seconds seemed like hours. I was standing there in front of everyone and I could not remember the last 15 seconds. So to try to make it less obvious, I was already shaking, but to try to make it less obvious, I took a step back and I just hoped no one had noticed, that no one had noticed that something was missing. I just stepped back. And something amazing happened. My really good friend and team member stepped up and she said the last 15 seconds of my presentation. And believe me, she was so smooth. It all went so smoothly that not even our teacher noticed. At the end of the presentation, I talked to her and she said she didn't even notice I had messed up. So human testing is key. Test this presentation with the people you live with your parents, with your brothers, with your friends. I tested this presentation with my parents, and believe me, they know it by heart by now. So basically, I think my mom could stand in here right now and tell you what I'm telling you because she's heard it so many times. And also technical testing. We live, like I said, in the 21st century. We live in the age of technology. So make sure to test everything. Make sure the colors and the fonts are visible. Make sure your presentation runs smoothly. Have always a backup USB, have a backup presentation. We live in an age where we rely on technology for basically every single aspect of our lives. But maybe we rely on technology a little bit too much. Technology can always fail. So test everything and be prepared. For example, have funny remarks ready. If your presentation stops working, have a funny remark to make people laugh. For example, if you're at a conference and you have a clicker so you can control your presentation, if the clicker stops working, have a funny remark ready. Learn to laugh at yourself and be prepared. Now, I would like to talk to you about the personal aspect of public speaking. As TED speaker Salman Khan put it, be yourself. The worst talks are the ones where someone is trying to be someone they aren't. If you are someone who's generally goofy, then allow yourself to be goofy. If you are emotional, then be emotional. The one exception to this rule is that if you're a self-arrogant and self-centered person, then you should definitely pretend to be someone you're not. Show vulnerability. This is a great tool to disarm any single audience. For example, if you're feeling nervous, it can actually work in your favor. Remember at the beginning of the presentation when I told you I was a little bit nervous? Now you have it. Audiences can sense when you're nervous and they can actually begin rooting for you. You should, if you're nervous, which is something that's human, you can actually learn how to use it in your favor. But something that's very important here, and I don't want you guys to confuse, is that you should never let your nerves get the best of you. We need to control our nerves. We can't let our nerves control us. I'm just saying it's natural. It's human to be nervous. Learn how to take advantage of it. Be human, be real, be warm, be natural. Let the audience get to know you and get personal. Everyone loves a story. Tell an anecdote. Let them live that story through you. Let yourself relive that story, with the audience. Make them laugh. Don't force it. But if you can try to get a laugh out of your audience, then absolutely go for it. Learn to laugh at yourself. And this is something that's not only useful when public speaking, but also life in general. Learn to laugh at yourself. If you mess up on stage and you've noticed, and you know your audience has noticed, just laugh it off, apologize for that mistake, correct whatever you said wrong, and move on. Learn how to laugh at yourself. This is something that's very, very important. Now that I've told you everything there is to know, well, there's lots of things to know, but now that I've told you the basics of public speaking, I would like to tell you about sales pitching. Selling is something crucial in life. And you may be thinking right now, well, I don't ever want to work in a sales department. I don't ever want to sell anything. I'm not interested in that. That's not a career path for me. So why should I learn this? And the answer is actually very simple. And what I say may sound weird, may sound confusing, you may say, what? But we are constantly selling ourselves. And this means, for example, we are constantly selling ourselves. We must learn how to convince people that we are the best at what we do. For example, when we apply for college, at a job interview, even when making friends, we need to convince those people that we are the best at what we do and that we are a great asset to either their college, to their job, or even as a friend. So we need to convince people that we are the best version of ourselves. Everything I just told you, everything I've talked about, every basic thing I told you about public speaking is very helpful when you're doing a sales pitch, because you're going to be standing in front of people you don't necessarily know. So you need to know how to do a great sales pitch. These are things that I have learned that are very important for the part behind a sales pitch, for the organization, for the product, for the service. And this right here is for genuine selling, not metaphorically selling yourself. This is for real selling. For example, if you're selling an idea, a product, or service, these are things that are very, very important. For example, teamwork. You're rarely ever going to work on your own when you're doing business. But even if you do, you will have someone to rely on. You will have someone that you need to trust. For example, when I'm at college, so for example, in a class, I had to do a mock business. And of course, the teacher told us, you can work by yourselves if you want to. No one worked by themselves, because it is always easier to work. For example, when you're doing business, it is always easier to rely on a team. So you're rarely ever going to do business on your own. So teamwork is key. Let's go back to the story I told you about the masters. If we hadn't been a solid team, then my friend wouldn't have known my last 15 seconds, and maybe the judges would have noticed, and maybe we wouldn't have made it to the finals. So teamwork is key when you're doing a sales pitch. Learn to communicate, learn to listen to one another, learn to accept what the other one has to say. A month ago, I was lucky enough to get a chance to attend a live conference that Bill Gates gave at my college, that my college organized. And he shared something that I want to share with you today, something that I think is very important. That is that we need to learn what we're good at, and we need to learn what we're not good at. And not only learn, we need to accept we're never going to be the best at everything. But in your team, there's always going to be someone that's better at certain things. And of course, you're going to be the best at something. But you need to accept what you're not good at. For example, if you know that you won't be able to present, you won't be able to explain the finance of your business plan, then leave it to someone else. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what I did at the Masters. And my team member who said the finance part did an excellent job. So learn what you're good at and learn what you're not. Teamwork is crucial because everything in life is teamwork. We need to learn how to communicate. We need to learn how to accept one another. Research. Do your research. Back everything up with facts. When you're trying to start a business, a startup, whatever, you need to know your facts. You need to know the market. You need to know anything about your product. You need to do your research. And again, stop procrastinating, get into it, start researching, know your product. Know your product and believe in it thoroughly. No one ever is going to believe in it if you don't. Like I previously said, confidence always sells. So again, this is a very simple structure. You can modify it whichever way you want, but this is a very simple and basic structure for what a sales pitch should be like. An opening. You need to hook the audience, the same with public speaking because it is very similar, but you need to hook the audience from the very, very beginning. Let me tell you something that's a bit harsh to hear, but people genuinely don't enjoy being pitched to. Not a lot of people enjoy being pitched to. So you need to hook your audience from the very first seconds. The opening can either make or break a deal. So have a strong opening. Story, humanize your product, humanize your service. Tell them about how you came up with the idea. Problem solver. And this is where you present your idea, your product, and your service. And the same with the core during the other structure. This is where you let yourself go. This is where you present the finance aspect. This is where you present the marketing aspect. This is where you present everything that makes up your business pitch, your selling pitch. Facts, have proof, have benefits, have testimonials, have everything ready. And also a powerful ending. Like I said, it is also very important not only to leave them hooked right at the end, but when you leave the room, when you leave the stage, you need to leave them hooked. You need to leave them thinking about what you just said. So, as well as an opening, a powerful ending can either make or break any sales pitch. These are just two things that I have learned that I think are very, very important that I wanted to share with you today. And that is that reputation is everything. Build a reputation as a generous person. Bring something new and wonderful to the audience. Don't become a tedious self-promoter. Like I said, most people don't enjoy being pitched to. So generosity always evokes a response. Your goal should be to give, not to take. The most effective salespeople out there put themselves in the shoes of their audience and they imagine how they can best serve the audience need. So bring something new, try to give, not to take, and always remember that reputation is everything and that generosity evokes a response. So now that we're almost done, remember, you don't need to be an astronaut, you don't need to be a president to give a powerful talk. You already have what it takes. Practice always. Continue to educate yourself constantly. It may be by experiencing new things, and it can also be by academically educating yourself. Read, try new things. Grab the opportunities in front of you. Work hard and make the most out of them. Do things that scare you, do things that challenge you. Challenge yourself at a pace that is, of course, challenging, but also not overwhelming. Trust and believe in yourself. You already have what it takes, and always work hard for what you want. On the subject of constantly educating ourselves, I want to recommend two books that have helped me a lot, not only to prepare for this talk, but have helped me grow as a person. And the first one is a book from TED, and it's called The TED Talk, the official TED Guide to Public Speaking. Believe me, I got a lot of information from this book right here. And if you're interested in not only sales pitching, but also speaking in public, then you should definitely consider reading this book. It's a great book. And also another great book that I truly recommend is the Penguin Book of Modern Speeches. This is a book that will not only help you with public speaking, which is quite obvious, but will help educate yourself on other subjects, for example, history, politics. So if you're interested, I recommend these two books. They're really, really great. Believe me, I have read them. I'm still not all the way through, of course, the Modern Speeches one, but I have read quite a few and they are all amazing. And to close, I would just like to say, students here today, if you have any opportunity in front of you, grab it. I know it may be scary, but the only way we can truly learn is when we challenge ourselves. So challenge yourself. Do something that scares you. I've always said, and I've always liked this metaphor, I've always said that life is like a long corridor full of open doors and closed doors. You never know when the next door is going to open, and you never know when the next door is going to close. So if you have an open door in front of you, go through it. You never know what may lead next. For example, if I hadn't gone to BEO, then I probably wouldn't have gone to the master's. And if I hadn't gone to the master's, I would not be a BEO World Ambassador. And if I was not a BEO World Ambassador, then I would not be in front of you here today. And being in front of you today has helped me grow so much as a person. This has been an amazing, not only academic, but personal growing experience for me. So take the opportunities in front of you. Don't be scared. And now, to officially close, I would like to close with a quote by Chris Anderson, who's the head of TED Talks and who you all basically know is my personal hero by now. And that is that life is fleeting, but ideas, inspiration, and love endure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ceci. Thank you for your very valuable advice and for the biggest boost of self-confidence. Now there is no excuse for us to fear public speaking or succeed at selling. Guys, what do you think? If you have any comments or questions, please don't hesitate to share on the chat. Make the most out of this conference, so please turn on cameras and feel free to ask Ceci anything, who clearly is a sales pro.
Thank you. And yes, don't be afraid to ask anything. I mean, I'm here if you need anything at all. So please ask. For example, a question that pops right now is, you may be wondering how to deal with eye contact right now that we're doing everything on Zoom. And what I say is, right now I have a few cameras, so I try to look at you guys, the ones that I can see, but also I can look at myself. So I sort of have a mirror in front of me. So if you have that mirror in front of you, then make the most out of it. Don't be afraid to look at yourself. I mean, it's not egocentric or anything. Just look at yourself if it makes you feel more confident. That's something that I would do. So yeah.
We have a lot of comments in the chat. Thank you very much, Ceci. It was an amazing talk. I'm going to leave the link for the closing ceremony here in the chat so everyone can join us for the closing. Please open your microphones if you want to ask something to Ceci.
Hi, Ceci, I have a question for you.
Yeah,
I hear that you go to the masters. Can you give us tips for the future students that will go to the masters, for like the finale emotions, or how did you felt the nervous? Because I haven't gone to the masters yet, but I still I'm nervous, like still going for my first time, and I don't know on the first speech or the first presentation how to do and how to deal with that.
well, first of all, let me start by saying that everything you're feeling is completely natural. It would be weird if you didn't feel that way. It's completely natural to be scared of things that we don't know. It's always challenging. But the few things I have, of course, is believe in yourself, but also practice. If you know you're going to be speaking in front of a lot of people, then practice your public speaking, practice your English, practice your body language, practice your gestures. Try to use some of the tips. You don't have to use all of them because, like I said, everyone is completely different. But try to use some of the tips I just gave you today, because these tips were the ones that me and my team actually used at the masters, and I believe they worked. So try to use them. Don't be afraid to try new things. Like I said, constantly keep educating yourself. A great way is attending these kind of events where you will learn about, I know you guys have been connected basically all day. So you learn from other people. So keep educating yourself and let yourself, feel these emotions, because it's completely natural, it's completely human. And the one thing that I want to tell you all today, like I said, is that we all think we can't do it. We all think that we're not good enough. We may think that we don't have what it takes, but let me tell you, because I've been there, we all have what it takes. We can all become great at anything we've set our minds to. So don't be afraid to try new things, and yeah, just if you have the opportunity to go to the masters or any other academic and personal opportunity, take it. You never know where it may take you. Thank you, Arturo, for your question.
Thank you, Ceci, for the presentation.
Thank you. I'm glad. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Thank you, Ceci. I just like to say that I was really impressed with your presentation. I think it was really professional. As soon as you began, I asked all of my team to join this presentation, because I think that you don't only give us an amazing motivational speak, but also you gave us a lot of strategies. They're really good and works a lot for the professional level. So I think it was amazing. Congratulations, Ceci.
Thank you very much.
Okay, there is no more questions or comments. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining today, and we will
Thank
see
you,
you.
guys.
Thank you, Ceci.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good day.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.